want to ask you something George Will wrote very quickly here. He wrote this: Vladimir Putin's fifth column is not in Kyiv, but in the Trump-DeSantis faction of the Republican Party. Putin has two hopes for a less than completely mortifying rescue from his Ukraine blunder. One is the election of Trump, who's frivolous about national security, compliments his weaklings' admiration for a bully. Putin's other hope is the election of DeSantis. Are you concerned, and should Ukraine be concerned, that the election of Donald Trump could harm our support?
Well, look, in terms of the Republican Party, I think there's some, for elected officials right now, I think there's been some very positive news, hasn't been talked about. You know, there was this debate in the Republican conference in the Senate about cutting off aid to Ukraine. A couple members wanted to send a letter to the president. We debated it. I strongly was opposed to that. 3 Republican senators signed this letter. And that's not very strong. And you just saw the NDAA that was marked up in the House, all the amendments that were calling on cutting off Ukraine aid went down strongly in a bipartisan way. So I think elected Republican officials right now in the Senate, in the House, are still strongly supportive of Ukraine. We need to make sure other allies
but
step
is Will
up
right
with their 2%
that
commitment. We need to make sure, and I tell the Ukrainians this all the time. Well, I think, there's my point. I think that current elected officials can have a strong impact on whoever the next president is. When President Trump was president, I pressed him on the issue of NATO quite a lot, and so did many other members. I'll tell you one thing President Trump did quite well was press this 2% of GDP issue. By the way, President Biden has been doing that. President Obama did it as well. So I think the current elected Republican leadership in the House and Senate strongly supports NATO, and I think that's the most important thing to look at right now in terms of that issue.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.